this is about the law of attraction. It's another class about the law of attraction because we keep discovering more things. And this particular class is about telling the difference between actions and activities. Because once we started really like working with the law of attraction, we realized that actions interfere with the law of attraction. In fact, when you take an action, what you're probably doing is you're telling the law of attraction to turn off. Like you're saying, I'm going to do this, and let's see if it gets the desired result, and if it doesn't, I'll adjust it, and I'll just keep trying and messing with it so I don't need to attract anything. You know, I'm going to try to control. But must you yawn loudly as I'm speaking? Is that absolutely necessary?
No.
Anyway, Barb, say back to me what I said just now, in different words.
Actions get in the way of the law of attraction. And when you take actions, you're actually telling the law of attraction to stop working because you're doing it instead. You're trying to.
Good. That's a very, maybe better way of saying it than I said it. That's right. You're saying, okay, I'm going to try to control this now.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's take yesterday. I got this call from a guy and I asked him, I got him on the show. We just called him when we were doing the meeting. Yeah? Is that?
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, I manifested him calling me, and he was this very kind of receptive sounding, like, I'll be so grateful to you if you'll call me back. I mean, a lot of people who call me, they're like, they say their name and their phone number and they hang up, you know? Like they think I'm selling something. In fact, a lot of people literally do think I'm selling something. They have no idea what this is. So they think it's like a salve that they put on their herpes or something, you know? That's what they think. They think we have a product we're selling. So, I mean, in fact, people even call me like in the middle of the night, which doesn't bother me because I keep the phone off, but it shows you, like, they think they're calling a business and they can call in. They're not trying to do anything bad or anything. They just think it's a business, you know. They don't know what it is. But this guy had watched some movies. He had tried it. He knew what it was. He was with it. Now that was a good thing to manifest, right?
Oh, yes.
But also, see, I got a very good return on what I manifested. You know what I mean by a return on it, Ross?
Yes. You got something back from it. You got a reward.
Yeah, I manifested something. You know, and then I actually made it give me something more than just what it would have if I hadn't done that. Like, hey, Greg, suppose I had not called that guy during the meeting.
Yeah.
And suppose instead of calling him during the meeting, I had just, you know, called him a few days later by myself. Would I have gotten as much out of his call? Would I have gotten as much out of what I manifested?
No. Not as much with him because we had other people on, and not as much for yourself, and not as much for all of us who were on the call and learned about it.
Yeah, and also I was able to move you further along, yes?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I used him to move you, to develop you.
Check.
So I had to see the potential of what I manifested.
Right.
Barb, remember last night Karen was talking and she said that you could just go to the co-op and start a Cure Cafe there?
Mm-hmm.
Now, would you say that the law of attraction was working for you there? Because you live right in Santa Fe where the co-op is.
Mm-hmm.
So does it seem to you like that was the law of attraction working for you?
Having Karen say that?
Yeah, or just having the co-op there or knowing about it.
Yeah. I guess so.
Now, what is the potential of that?
It's not really a cafe, it's just setting up a little table. But it's good. I mean, it's the kind of people that come to the co-op. It's your crowd, but it's not Whole Foods, it's different. But, be good practice, and you never know who you'll meet, I guess.
Well,
I think there's potential with Karen, because she wasn't even talking about the Cure Cafe. And now she's thinking about it and said, oh, here's, you know, she's kind of mind, you know, brainstorming, yeah, that's the word, brainstorming. And even with nothing else involved, if she comes across some place or somebody who's selling the cafe or there's a better arrangement for a cafe or something, she's going to hit on that also.
Mm-hmm. And she works in a cafe.
Cure Cafe, she never would have thought of it.
I mean, she works in a cafe too. I could walk over and hang out on a table where she works, but she didn't say that. But
Yeah, well, that's telling.
she works in a fancier neighborhood.
mm-hmm. See, the point is that well, this is about recognizing the difference between activities and actions. Like, for example, suppose you were to gear up and make food or make, you know, cookies or whatever, and take them over there and set up a table and sit there and ask people if they want to cure things as they eat something with you. Would that be an action or an activity?
So maybe the first time it would be action, but then it can turn into an activity.
See, that's the problem with it. Is that it needs to be an activity from the beginning, because at any point, if you turn the law of attraction off, what's going to happen? See, the law of attraction,
I know what you mean. I've done that.
it is your wealth. Like you ever notice, like let's say it's an activity and you go there and you're just like, you know, you set up a table and you don't have anything to eat and you're just sitting there and somebody comes along and they say, hey, I got this little thing I can give you where you can make cookies. It's a small thing and I'll just give it to you. See, that's the law of attraction working. Like somebody, it's like the law of attraction does things for you without any effort on your part that it's very hard for you to do for yourself. You follow me?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how did you get the Nancy's office?
I don't remember. Just kept hanging out here, I guess.
Was that an activity or an action?
I was downtown a lot, and then I'd stop in, and then pretty soon she gave me a key.
Was
Pretty soon
that
I had my own room.
Was that an activity or an action?
So it was my activity. Going downtown was my activity.
That's
Back in
right.
those days.
And you couldn't rent a place like that for like $1,000 a month.
I know. It's true.
And it's beautiful and in that location, and somebody just gave it to you because you were hanging out there. And that's the law of attraction. Now, have you made the most of that? Like, does Nancy's office have potential that you haven't exploited?
Yeah, probably.
Question. See, you can alter your activity patterns without taking action to get more out of the things that you manifest. You don't have to be chasing something. You know, like last night.
In a way, I think going to Albuquerque was action, so it was a big distraction. Like the whole thing, it's like I don't even know how that happened, how that ever happened. It felt like I was on a manifesting track, and then suddenly this idea of going to Albuquerque came, and it was like big, uprooted me. I don't even know how that happened. And next thing I know, I was doing all this moving and then moving back, and it was like 3 months of.
Yep. Well, what I've noticed myself personally is that when I'm doing activities, I start manifesting things, and I manifest bigger and bigger things, and all of a sudden something will come along that looks like this gigantic opportunity to take this huge action. And if I take it, I'm dead. So as long as going to Albuquerque wasn't, because there was a period of time where going to Albuquerque was an activity.
Now it's going to be an activity because I'll still probably go back and forth there sometimes.
Yeah. And it was an activity, and at some point you started getting enmeshed in action in the middle of it. Because at the beginning it was just you were helping Anna and it was fun and you were getting money and it was all good. I remember what you were like. And you were obviously doing an activity. And you didn't have any idea where it was going to take you. You were completely open to wherever it went. I'll use another example. Like, here's Greg. Last night, Greg, you tried to help me. First of all, I asked you to help me. I asked you to watch my back when I was running the outline. And right at the beginning, I skipped a strategy point, which was I was supposed to ask Scott's name, and I didn't ask. And I had forgotten that strategy point, which I had written in there a couple of weeks ago. I wrote it in, and then I forgot it. And so I brushed off your help, and I said, "Oh no, we don't ask people's names. Let's just get started." And when I was doing that, what was I doing? I was doing an action, right?
Yeah.
Meaning that actually running the outline with Scott was an action for me, at least in that moment.
Yeah, right.
But why? I don't understand why.
He was, if you're in a relationship with Scott and with me and we're just curing, it would be, oh yeah, what's your name? It would go with what was right there.
Then it's an activity.
It wasn't.
part of the outline, so.
Yeah, it is actually, but it is in the
I'm sorry, I said the wrong thing. It wasn't part of the prayer meeting to take the action to go speak to Scott, so that's why it was an action rather than a normal activity during the Monday night cure meeting. That's what I meant to say. Sorry. If you did it every time, then it would be an activity, but it was like an oddball thing.
So if
Well,
you do it once in a while, and it's not a habit, it's an action.
Well, I think that you're onto something, Franny, because I just realized, you know, see, I had some good pieces of very good luck yesterday. And the first one was Jay Wool called me.
Yeah.
And we talked for a while. One of the things he said was his girlfriend was turned off by the prayer meeting.
Right.
And when I thought about, well, why would that be? It was probably the same reason, like last night, after Scott got all those signals and he did all that curing, you could see that he still didn't want to be in the prayer meeting.
Well, I think you should have ended his call and then gone on with the prayer meeting, now that I think about it.
I thought it was great he stayed, just to answer that, he stayed on because,
Oh.
I mean, if he wanted to get off, you did say he could go off if he wanted to.
It was great that he stayed, but I think he
Because he
got
was giving
turned off.
yes answers. He was readily answering, doing
Yes.
the prayers.
He was doing the prayers, he was getting yeses, everything was working, but there was something, it just, for these new people, for a very long time, I think that they need to focus 100% on them and their symptoms.
Yeah.
And
Because he didn't realize he had symptoms going. You have to realize that while you're doing other things.
but anyway, that was my big luck, was that Jay put me on to that when he talked to me in the morning. And then in the afternoon I get this call from this guy and I say, okay, here's my chance to try this out. And I'm just going to make my call the middle of the meeting to him. Because for us to go forward, we need to work with people the way they want to be worked with, the way they have to be worked with.
Yep.
We have to do the thing that gets their attention and holds it. And the only thing that does that is stuff that's specifically about them. And that still doesn't mean they're going to cure it. And if they sign up, it doesn't mean they're going to cure it. So far so good. But what I was seeing early today is that whether you're doing an action or activity really is not a function of the innate thing you're doing so much as of your spiritual position while you're doing it. Like, I was doing an action because I just hadn't, well, I think I was wobbling between action and activity. For a lot of the time, I think I was doing an activity. And maybe that's because I've been doing this outline with people over and over again. But that's what I think, where I think I was. Now, Franny, what do you think about that?
Well, if I understand you correctly, you're saying that you've done the outline so much that it was kind of more of an activity to call the guy back, but I think it's kind of more like the venue wasn't right or something.
Because you were doing it in the meeting, you're saying? That
Yeah,
it became an action? You were trying to get more out of it. You were trying to teach us, and it added an element of...
Barb, go on mute. Barb, go on mute.
It didn't seem like a prayer meeting because the prayers were kind of fit in around this thing, you know, so that it, you know, it's more like a session or something, you know.
Well, I've come to the conclusion that the meeting is a very good place to do the outline with people. For one thing, because we're all here and we can all learn. And for another, because we started out by doing one of the prayers, and I think it brought us all into a good place. I thought, Greg, by the way, that you were in a very good place last night.
Okay.
Like, even when I brushed off your help at the beginning, which you were totally valid in doing what you did, and then I just wouldn't let it in, and you just stopped and you like let the thing flow.
Uh-huh.
Also, the outline is saving me from doing actions.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I wasn't doing the outline, each and everything I said to the person would be an action of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
And there'd be no manifesting.
Yeah, except it was still not an activity. It was an action that you took last night, and it could have been good, or if you are in the opinion that it's okay, you know, I didn't think it was fantastic, but if you said, well, I'm going to add this to the outline as one of our regular activities, okay, you know, then it'll be a different thing. But you took an action last night.
I think you're totally right. I think that's the essence of whatever problem I ran into, whatever was dragging me into being in the action mode, was because that was an action, and I hadn't really shifted it into being an activity.
Yeah, you didn't tell the guy that you were going to call him back in the middle of a prayer meeting. It was like, that's what was kind of strange about it. Like, he didn't know what the purpose of the meeting was. He just thought you were calling him back with friends. It wasn't clear, and when you're not clear, it's like less communication, and then things kind of, you know, people could misunderstand or whatever, you know, not know why you're doing certain things. And that's why the action didn't work, because you didn't discuss it or tell him what in advance you were going to call him like that. Maybe he would have said no, but anyway,
No, that's true.
point being, it just wasn't really worked out all that well.
So the communication to him would have been you're like on his side, telling things he should know. In fact, we've already talked about it being a cult, and although he said, well, he kind of was okay with that, it took him some time to answer that. But then after his little session there, the cult goes into their prayers. Well, I thought it was fine, but for him, it might have been. Yeah, I'm just tacking on to what Franny said.
Also, you know, I'm thinking maybe I could have turned it into more of an activity by discussing it a bit more with everybody here before calling him.
Right, and yes.
In fact, maybe it wasn't so much doing anything different with him necessarily as doing something different with the people in the prayer meeting.
Well, we didn't really discuss it, and all of us just went along with it, I suppose.
We're used to it. And you know, for me, talking is an action sometimes. When I, go on about something.
Uh-huh.
And I know it's an activity when I'm just really connected to what I'm saying. Especially during these SMAC, doing the outline.
Yeah.
For you, talking to you seems like an activity. You do it all the time. But even in that case, which you held back from doing, like you said, it would be an action. There are a lot of actions we're not aware of. I'm talking about you in this case. If you had gone on in some story about yourself that, helped to show some point, it would have been taken away from the outline. And it would have been, not the attention would not have been on him, it would have been on you and this thing he's trying to get intellectually or whatever. You didn't do that. So.
Well, I mean, to me, even if the guy flunks, you have to kind of leave him with, I think you have to leave him with a good feeling, in a way. And when you don't, like, complete your call or whatever and explain to him what you're doing, basically, I would think that he might, even if he was a little interested, he might get turned off. Because he's just like, you kind of said, well, sign up for something and I'll give you a little free lesson, and maybe he did okay, maybe he didn't, but maybe he didn't really get what he wanted, It's just like, I don't know, there was something like sort of incomplete about it all.
I didn't complete my call with him.
Yeah, he didn't handle his mind and close his experience, you kind of left this open-ended thing which he didn't understand maybe or care about or whatever.
Yeah, and you know what?
What?
Now that I'm thinking of it, also what I did with him and what we did with him is not the outline. It's something other than the outline. There was a place where our interaction with him diverged from the outline. And so what I'm seeing is that doing something that's in part an action. See, when we take actions and activities are things we have control of. That's a very important thing to realize, that we have, like, our activities, like if we're doing an activity all day, if something goes wrong, we can correct for it. That's the nature of an activity. But when we take an action, it's as though we're taking this one big thing we do, and then it's very easy for the thing to spin out of control.
Right.
But like because the nature of an action is you take an action and you see whether it worked or not. The nature of an activity is you're doing things that you know work and are working, and then you're looking to see what comes in to you while you're doing these things that are working, and that's the law of attraction. That's where the law of attraction comes in. And there was a good part of that call where I was attracting all the right things. I could feel that I was sort of grinding up all the things that that's what the outline does. It grinds up all the things that are going to interfere with the person curing it. Now that doesn't mean he's going to go off and cure it, because grinding those things up for 20 minutes is not going to necessarily grind everything that has to be ground, okay? But while I was doing it, it was just great. But the problem was that because it was an action instead of an activity, it was like I did it and looked to see if it was working, and at the end of the day, I just had to say, well, it's time to end our meeting so we don't have any more time to work with you, and I hadn't completed the outline. And it's probably necessary to complete the entire outline, which is what's so nice about having a cafe, because if you stop in the middle because you or the other person doesn't have time, they can be back. You know, it's very easy for them to walk in again, or they'll be still sitting at the counter when you come back, and you can do some more. It also gives you it's an environment where you can leave people with things and come back in 5 minutes and so on. So from what Barb was telling me about a table at the co-op, Barb, I don't think a table at the co-op would be quite the thing. I think that what's needed is an environment rather than a table. Like a cafe is an environment.
I was thinking of...
Oh, Barb, I can't hear you because you're on mute, I guess.
I have a friend who just opened a restaurant here, and he'd probably let me hang out in his restaurant, but again, you have to have more people coming in.
Well, see, the key to the whole cafe idea is that you're earning a living while you're teaching.
Right.
You're not just hanging out in a place, you're actually earning a living because you own the cafe, or you're getting a salary or whatever.
Yeah.
So you know.
I was thinking of
Aztec would be good.
how when
Yeah.
people have done courses, and I've been like to things where you've done courses, and think back to like when Chrissy did a course in Santa Fe. In the back of the room, she'd be selling her, I don't know what she was selling, nutrition, or somebody else was selling nutritional stuff and such and such. Because you're already in the environment, and it's a healing environment and all that, people go to the back and say, oh, this is part of it. And so I'll buy some of this and buy some of that. The actual activity was the course, and you just include that in the activity of their stuff in the back.
Yes.
Go sign up for the next course. You know, the next course, you'll see, read about the next course in the back, and someone will talk to you, and you just sign up for it.
Yeah, a cafe puts the outline in the realm of activity.
Yes.
Because it's part of an activity. And see, Barb, if you remember the income stream thing?
I think.
Well, see, that's another thing. If you were hanging out at somebody else's place, you're not giving workshops there every, month and, collecting $300 per person from them and all these other income streams. So, you can't manifest the same way. See, that's what everybody has to realize, is that instead of designing actions to get results, we need to design activities that manifest results. And that's what got me hooked on Cure Cafe, is that Cure Cafe seems like if you're the owner, or if you're getting paid to be there, then you're how shall I say it? You're doing an activity where you can manifest unlimited support. Well, the cafe is a church. It's holy ground. It's a holy place where God interacts with people in a very special way, in a way that we are hoping the whole world will become holy ground. And the cafe will extend and expand out into the world. We want to create activities that bring good things to us. Like, Ross, what are you getting out of this?
Well, for me it's very difficult to understand the difference between an action and activity. Let me give you an example. If I take my walk every day to breathe better, that's an activity. If I don't do it for a week because of many reasons, and one Sunday afternoon I go walking for 2 hours, would that be an action?
Franny, what do you say? Franny, I can't hear you.
I think I had it on mute.
I said, it seems to me like that's still an activity. It's just an extended activity to make up for some missed activity, but it's not
Okay.
action. To start walking might be an action.
Might be if you've never done it and, you just loathe to do
And
it.
your doctor says, you have to do this or die, and then you
And,
do an action.
and the doctor will say this has to become an activity. It's not just a one-time thing.
Yeah?
My father joined the YMCA, which he did some years ago. He was a member for about a couple of years. He went twice. Both times were when I was in town and I took him.
Oh,
So it was an activity to do with me, but it was really out of his normal realm. But still, as a human being, it's in the realm of human being where you physically move. So it was
Okay.
good. I still don't have the answer, but I think it's more
But
active.
for Ross's example, I would still say if you walk normally, it's still one of your activities, and so it got to be infrequent, and then you got.
You're out of practice.
But you wanted to make it more frequent or catch up or something. I still think it's an activity.
So what would be an action?
Joining.
Let's say that I'm looking for a job, okay?
Yeah.
What would be the action?
Well, first of all, just back there, Franny was saying join a gym. It's not your normal activity. Your activity is walking, doing things around the house.
Okay. So join a gym would be an action, and it wouldn't be good.
No, not necessarily, because you might be getting to a new activity level. It might be
Okay.
what you need in life.
no, it wouldn't be good. It would only be good if you started doing activities that, like, just moved you into a gym. Like you,
Yes.
Well, how would she get there to make the choice to move to a gym?
Because maybe she likes cycling and she wanted to take a cycling class
Yeah.
and do it with other people, something like that.
She realized you weren't getting enough out of the
No, it's
out of the
not-
walking, and you were starting exercising home. It
It's not
says
so much that she didn't get anything out of this, it's just that she may want to make her activity a different circumstance or a different group of people.
expand it in some way. Yeah.
Listen, so let's say that I join a group of people who goes walking every day,
Yeah.
and they walk in a certain manner that is good for the lungs. That would be an action that starts an activity.
Right.
that would.
So
Be an action.
the action wouldn't be bad in that case.
To start
Well,
the group.
We're thinking about this the wrong way, okay?
Probably yes.
We're all just thinking about it the wrong way. I said it earlier, so I should say it again, now that we've all made the same mistake all this time.
You mean the one about manifesting the result and all that?
No.
Oh.
What I mean is that whether you're doing an activity or an action is a function of your internal state.
Yes,
Oh.
that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm getting.
It just is a matter of where you're. For example, let's say you start doing a lot more movement and you're jogging around the street, and you're jogging past the gym and you look in there and you go, wow, that looks nice. They have treadmills and all this stuff. And you sort of slow down and you're running and because you're doing an activity, and you say, "No,
Yes.
check this thing out," you know, and you sort of jog in there, and you go up to the desk, and you say to the guy, you know, "What's it cost to join this place anyway?" And they start telling you about the various deals, and you're going, "That sounds good. Well, you know, I don't have my card with me right now, but I'll tell you." And she says, "Listen, if you bring your card, whenever you want to come here, just bring your card. We'll sign you up. It'll take 10 minutes. You can go right in and start doing your exercise." So next day you're out jogging again. This time you remember to put your card in your pocket. You jog over to the gym, you know, and you say, "Hey," you jog in and you go, "Hey, I'm going to start using the machines in here." And she says, "Okay, fine. Here's my card. Sign me up for 6 months. We'll see how it goes," you know. So she signs you up. Sure enough, takes 5 minutes and you're like all signed up. And then you sort of jog over to the treadmill. There's a free treadmill. And you jump on that thing and you're jogging on the treadmill, you know, and you're measuring how fast you're going. It's got all these little doohickeys and you're learning all about your, you know, heart rate and everything. You're going, "Boy, this is great, you know. This really beats running in the street, you know, because you're doing the same thing. You were just running in the street. Now you're running on this treadmill. And as you're on the treadmill and you're sort of learning about your heart rate and blood pressure and everything, and then you say, you're looking over and you go, look at that machine over there. That guy is like building up his triceps, you know. Let me try that. I got to try that, you know." And he gets off the machine, and so your thing is winding down anyway. So you jump off the treadmill and you run over to this thing before somebody else grabs it, and you go on this machine. See, you're doing an activity the whole time.
Yeah.
This whole thing.
So my activity of running made me manifest seeing the gym and going in.
Exactly.
Yes?
Yes, that's exactly right. You just happened to turn down that street that particular day.
Yeah, okay.
You just happened to turn down that street, and there it was, and you're going, "Oh, wait, let me check this out," you know? And this is how it happens. It's like I was on the Kalima board doing my activity last night, and all of a sudden the phone rings, and this guy calls, and he leaves a message, and I listen to it, because I keep the phone right next to my Kalima board, so I can do precisely that. And I listen to his message, and then I'm laying there in the dark, and I'm thinking about the meeting, and I said, "Gee, you know, instead of, like, I hark back to what Jay said, and I said to myself, well, instead of, you know, like Jay, what Jay, like, in keeping with what Jay was talking about, I could invite this guy to the meeting, because every time somebody calls on Monday, I always think, oh, should I invite him to the meeting? Because the meeting's only in a few hours. So should I invite him to the meeting, you know? But instead of that, I said, well, darn, you know, the meeting isn't going to do anything for him, but wait a minute. Maybe we could do the outline in the meeting, because all the people who need to learn about the outline are in the meeting. Right? Greg,
Yes.
Franny, Barb, Alejandra, those are the people who are in the meeting. So I'll just call him from the meeting and do the outline with him. Like if somebody had called me this morning, you know, it probably wouldn't have been a good idea to try to integrate that person into this class, so I wouldn't have called the person during the class, because the class has a topic. It really would have been an action to call the person. And see, that's what Franny was driving at before, is that the meetings have been about the prayers. So if I wanted to make the meeting about something else last night, I probably should have talked to everybody and said, I want to change the meeting tonight and see if we can do this person some good instead of just saying prayers tonight. That might have converted, you know, the situation. See, it's very easy to slip into action.
Yeah.
From activities. It's because your spiritual state is always sliding around.
So, if I'm functional, I won't do actions, right?
Yeah, but who's that functional? I'm telling you, you're sliding from function to dysfunction all the time.
Sure. let's say, for example, that I do the outline with someone and this person flunks, okay? I call this person back, that's an action.
Yeah. But suppose
Okay.
you do the outline with the person and they pass.
Yes, okay, then I can call them back and that's an activity.
And that's an activity.
So the activity is something good, something that can bring a result, and an action is the contrary.
Yeah, see, now here's the thing. Suppose you're doing the outline when somebody calls you. You do the outline. You come to the place where they're supposed to sign up for the web college.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not near their computer or some other reason they can't sign up for the web college, but you do the rest of the outline.
Okay.
Or suppose you come to the place where it's about contributing and they're too scared to contribute. But you go on, but you go on and you do the rest of the outline. And everything else seems to work out okay. Did they pass or fail?
They failed.
Barb, go on mute again. You're sighing heavily.
But that's good, she's getting more oxygen, as Rosella says.
Barb, you got to take a run around the block before these meetings, or just run the 5 miles to the office or whatever. You're just not getting enough oxygen. You have to run. It just has to become part of your day, even in the deep.
I just ate lunch, that's all. I just ate lunch.
Lunch. Good God, you ate lunch kind of early. But anyway, like great, whatever. You will still.
Breakfast.
You will be okay. You will not be yawning and sighing if you run before lunch. Jog, run before lunch, and get your lungs clear. Clear the carbon dioxide out of your body and oxygenate yourself. And you won't be yawning. Yawning is a sign you don't have enough oxygen.
Yeah?
That's right, Ross?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, yawning is a sign that you don't have enough oxygen. That's what that means.
I knew that yawning is a sign of release. When you're working with somebody, having a session of that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's what she always says.
It's good.
Maybe it's a sign of boredom.
Barb, go on mute. Being on mute is a sign. Being on mute is a sign of boredom.
It's an activity.
Being on mute is an activity. We only have another 15 minutes, so you don't have long to just try to stick it out here. See, it's a good idea to stick it out, because if you can, the whole idea here is to notice when you've slipped into an action mode and relax. Like when I was thinking about buying, the cookie, the cafe in Albuquerque, I was going into more and more of an action mode, but I never really got in one. And that's why when it came down to actually doing it and we talked about it, we decided not to. And part of that was I talked with Barb about doing it. And see, Barb, I think that Barb kept me sane, because I was so thankful to you, by the way, Barb, because I don't think you ever went into an action mode about it. I think that you flashed. There were a few times where I felt like you flashed into an action mode where you were saying, okay, let's do it, like buy it, let's do it. But when I talked to you about it and questioned you, you were so stable and level-headed, and you were really evaluating yourself and understanding what you felt like doing and what your preferences were and the direction you wanted your life to go in. I was inspired by your commitment to yourself and your unwillingness to do anything that's really wrong for you. And see, it brought me back, like I said, wait a minute, like I'm taking my life into a direction here. I was watching you and I said, yeah, like I'm doing the same thing. What am I getting myself into? Like, and because my life is really wonderful. Also, by the way, Barb used the words life structure design when we were talking about this. And there's a lesson on it, which I tweeted. So I tweeted a lesson on life structure design. And I'm going to make the next meeting about life structure design.
Oh, okay.
So that's what our next class is going to be about, life structure design, which was interesting to Barb. And it also became interesting to me because I realized that when you design your life, what you're doing is basically closing down options. Like you're choosing to make your life smaller. Like you're saying, okay, for example, when you, just an example is, like I refurbished Franny's bike so that I could ride it, because I decided I wanted to ride the bike to the park. Now, obviously, if I start riding the bike to the park, instead of driving to the park, it's going to take me more time, so I'm going to have less time to do other things. And also I won't have the car there, so I can't drive off and go shopping when I have the bike, and so on. So I'm choosing to give myself less options if I ride the bike. And that's an example of life. That's what life structure design is about. Anyway, there are people who design their life structure out of action rather than out of activity.
Yeah.
Like, for example, like I'm reading this novel, one of the John Grisham novels called The Rainmaker, and this guy is willing to take any job. He just wants to have a job. And he'll do anything in the legal he's a lawyer. So he'll do anything in the legal profession as long as it's a job in a law office, he'll do it. And he's really like, but what happens is, in the middle of this, he just manifests these disasters happening to him, which sort of sweep him into the best possible situation for him. And he becomes a rainmaker. That's what the title of the book. And a rainmaker is somebody who brings in business. So he's out in his car and he's driving around and he can wear exactly what he wants, and it doesn't matter what kind of car he has, and it doesn't matter what he's wearing, and it doesn't matter where he goes, and he feels absolutely free, and he suddenly just has this moment where he thinks, wow, this is just great, All of these catastrophes that happen to him bring him to a place of freedom, and where he ends up manifesting this really great job where he can make lots of money doing things his way. And he doesn't have to he doesn't have to work as many hours, and he can have fun. And so it's really kind of interesting, Grisham seems to understand these things, these life realities, So thinking about that, like here's this guy, he's in a complete action mode. See, that is the problem, by the way, with the people that we work with, like Scott last night, that he's locked into a total action mode. Did you notice that, Barb? Like he's in compulsive action.
Yeah.
Yeah, he actually listed them at one
He was
point,
talking
like,
with
I'm
them.
taking this, I'm doing that, you know.
Yeah, he was listing his actions. That's right. He was listing his actions. So, God. And they're all like that. And so at the end of the outline, I think that the outline really has to be run completely. I don't know if you can.
You should send me his number, I'll call him back.
Oh, sure. No problem. I'll do it. Thank you, Barb. Thanks for offering to do that.
Is that an action now or an activity?
No, it sounds like an activity to me, and that was really nice of you too. I just want to say, you know, because I never would have thought of giving you his number if you hadn't asked for it, and I wouldn't have called him back, so he wouldn't have gotten anything.
Exactly there.
I mean, it really is nice of you to offer, you know. But here it is. It says, the last thing in the outline now says, assess symptoms that have appeared during this interaction that indicate she will not cure what she's trying to cure. So when you do call him, make sure you do the end of the outline, even if you don't do the beginning. Like, start with his, you know, like, is it real? That, like, you could start it anywhere, but you could just, like, start it there. You could start by showing him the hub and doing a lesson with him or something. Okay, Barb?
Yes.
But once from wherever you started, just go directly through the outline from there. Or you can start at the beginning again. Can't hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so this is, see, that's right. Like for you, Barb, the thing that is really great about you is being with people is an activity to you, not an action. Like, and so you're always able to manifest incredible things when you're with people. The question is, what kind of return do you get on what you manifest?
Well, that's why I'm not hanging out with people anymore. So I don't think you realize that the last, years I haven't been with people really at all, except for when I had to make some money. I don't really hang out with people. That's why I don't have that many friends anymore. I don't go out anymore. Really. And that's why they were all mad at me. That's why Michael was mad.
Right.
Because I don't go to the things they invite me to.
And that was because you weren't seeing how to manifest your return on...
Well, I just don't... Yeah, has there been one person that came out of this outline that actually continued? I just sort of retracted, just figure out what actually does produce a return.
Well, I don't know if the outline has ever been run one single time. Like, I did not complete the outline last night, and also it changed after I ran it with him.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think, like, the outline as it exists now has never been run.
Yeah.
But there is another answer to your question about has there ever been one single person. Remember when we used to do the Cure Show? And a lot of times people would come into the Cure Show and they had not gotten their password.
Yeah.
And a lot of those people got passwords.
They did.
Yeah.
That was before we were getting commissions, I guess.
And those people were...
No.
Those people were, they did some kind of version of the outline. And by the way, to do this, if you're asking if somebody ever came out of it, you actually might need to really do several lessons with somebody, and then, in the hub, without giving them your password, or they can't get into the hub because they don't have a password, but you go into it and you do the lesson with them, and then you tell them about the, where you did it, and that they need to go use that lesson or use another lesson. You find another lesson for them to do, that, and you don't do that one with them. You just tell them to get their password and do that one. And you may have to do this, you know, a series of times before they get a password. Now, this is not very practical if you're calling them on the phone, but it's extremely practical if they're coming and sitting at a counter and having coffee while you do it, and you're handling other customers while you're talking to them. And, you know, you're going back and forth to them, and how you doing with that now, and oh, here, try this, and oh, see this page, this would be a good one for you. And, well, here's how you sign up. You know, you just click on this now, pick one of those. Oh, I'll be back in a minute, I have to get him something. And it would be very practical in a cafe setting, but if you have to keep calling the person back, everything you do feels like a sales call, and they start feeling pressured, and you know, their sales resistance comes up and everything else. Whereas if you're in a cafe, you don't actually have those kinds of problems.
Maybe I could have a Cure salon, like instead of having a cafe place, just like have a, like we used to have a Life Game, just have a class and serve tea and coffee and cookies, and then get them in groups. And
yeah, but what do they pay for? What do they pay you for?
you know, like the cookies and the coffee and stuff, or they can pay a little $10 to come in, and then they get to sit and work in a group and get coached and look at the website and whatever. Could have it on the screen here. I don't know. Have a class.
You mean have it over the internet?
You know, it could be in person. Could just invite people over here. I could have the website on the computer.
Oh, I see what you mean. In other words, at Nancy's office in the evening, have a Cure salon.
Yeah.
Like Thursday night, let's say.
Yeah.
Sure, you could probably do that. Everybody test, have I cured anything since I've been in this meeting?
Yes.
Yes.
Barb?
Yeah.
Franny?
Yes.
Barb, do you see these meetings as a waste of your time?
I mean, sometimes I have an idea, but what else would I be doing?
Well, would it be a waste of your time if you had something else to do?
I might behave differently in the meetings if I had something else to do.
I see. And how would you behave at that point?
Maybe I'd just make sure they were more valuable or something to me.
Well, how valuable has this one been? And is there some way you could make sure it's more valuable right now?
It's fine. It's just whatever. I don't see what else I could have done today, no. I mean, I saw some things to do, but it seemed like you were just on a track, so I let you take control of it. I don't really think I have to chime in unless I'm talked to usually, but if maybe that would change.
Well, you know, you got me thinking when you were talking about the Cure Salon thing. So I should just think about, suppose you had a Cure Salon. What would the difference between that and a Cure Cafe be?
You don't have to pay the rent on the cafe.
Okay.
You have to buy the cafe.
What about for the person coming in? What would the difference be?
I don't know, they pay a cover charge to get in, and I know they're coming to an event of some sort.
And with a cafe, right? Okay. And with a cafe, they can just drop in anytime, and you know it's there. You know, like Greg was telling me about a place that he ate in the other day. That's a friend of yours, Greg? The one that's open from 8 in the morning till...
Classmate.
Oh, yeah, my classmate where we went for brunch. It's a girl I know from my Pilates class. We talk a lot. And she's open from like 8 to 3 p.m. Then she goes home to her kids.
Yeah, so she's...
So breakfast and lunch.
She's open breakfast and lunch, 8 to 3, and that's 6 days a week, presumably?
I think 7 days a week.
So 7. All right, so here's...
So did they just do brunch?
Do brunch on Saturday and Sunday.
Okay, so see, that sounds like an activity for sure, okay? For the person coming in, they can just say, okay, this place is open, 8 to 3. I can just, any day I want, I can drop in during those hours, and I can, grab something to eat, and if I chicken out and I don't want to ask about curing anything, I don't have to, or somebody else will be curing something and I can just listen. And with a salon, it's like you do all this promotion, and my salon is on Thursday evening, every Thursday from 7 to 10, and it's $10 cover charge, and you come, it's a completely different thing. I get it. All right, I see the difference. So the whole reason that I want to have a cafe is so that we don't have to do things where people, because see, going to a salon is a lot more for the average person like taking an action.
Yeah.
Than walking into a cafe and just
letting...
letting...
I feel like I really want to just... It's like falling off a log. It's time to go in there.
Yep.
I'm going to go by, drop by, talk to somebody.
And just, yeah, that's right. And just let what happens manifest. And that's the deal, is that I do activities and I let what happens manifest. And then, if I know what I'm doing, I get a very good return on what I manifested. I maximize what I get back from what I manifested. And with all my mistakes yesterday, I think that I maximized what I got back from Scott by having him in the meeting last night, so I'm glad I did it.
I thought it was a very good move.
Thank you, Greg. I appreciate
we all
that.
have our manifesting meters, like bullshit meters. You have a manifesting meter.
You have a manifesting meter.
How much
Thank
am I
you.
manifesting out of this? It's really a good thing to do.
Well, I didn't have a problem with you bringing him. I just want you to be complete with people. So
Make it more usable for him, you mean?
no,
Or
just
for
they have a good completion. It's like it's closed for
Right.
them. So they don't.
Yeah, we should say thanks for coming. You can stay for this other part of the meeting, but
Well, I'll work on that part of the outline. Actually, it has to be in the outline, the completion.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is. It's part of the outline.
well, part of their next steps is they have homework. Well, you did say I appreciate this too. You said, he saw where he could get a password and so forth, and for some reason he couldn't right then, so he went on and did part of skill 1, and he said, well, you're gonna have there are 12 more bodies. You're gonna have to go do that yourself, and then you can call me back.
I tried to make it as much of an activity as I could.
Yeah, I thought that was good.
All right. With that, this sounds like a good place, and plus it's a quarter of. So I'm going to end the meeting, and I want to thank everybody for being here and helping me develop this, and hopefully I've helped you develop it for yourself, and you'll be able to employ it and use it. So now let's link our results file. Oh,
Hey, you're on
Greg,
mute, Greg.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Greg, you're yawning into the movie.
I know, that was a joke.
Okay.
Look, everybody who's been following along with the yawn shtick.
I'm so glad you said it was a joke, because I thought you were dead serious when you did it. All right, I'm on the 144th dimension.
And me too.
Yep.
This is the Cure Drive Cult homepage. You can see we tally our cures. That's the tally there, 132,000. You report your cures here, right here. That's the link to report your cure. Okay, this is the movie that people start with generally. And there's a lot of people actually curing things on camera in this movie and demonstrating exactly how to do it. It's 4.5 hours. So you would be able to probably understand and know what these people are doing by watching this. We are a cult because we're all over the world. Maybe one person in a town, just one little guy who cures things in a whole town full of people who don't. Whose spouse thinks she's crazy because she's curing things and he doesn't. She doesn't get sick and he's down with the flu for 5 days and he still thinks she's crazy. We've had spouses die. So this person is demonstrating curing herpes in this movie, the one you're watching right there. And it goes on like that. Now, these are the people here. You see this black area here? This is our Twitter feed. These are the people you want to talk to. And what you do, see, it says follow Cure Drive. And that's what you do. You click on that, and then you pick somebody. Anybody in here will be happy to help you. So you write to people that you see in here. And there's all these people all talking about what they're curing. So that's what you do. You pick somebody that you know that seems like a kindred spirit, presumably, and you write to them. See that picture of the cat there? That's Rosella. She's one of the people whose spouse died. He was a very great guy. He just thought it was nuts. Never did it. Died of cancer. Not too long ago, about 2 months ago. So anyway, you just, you write to somebody and, tell them what you are trying to do. People are always asking about negative medical tests. Here, let me show you. This is a voicemail message. You should probably, if you're interested in getting a negative medical test on, let's say, herpes, she got negative medical tests and both kinds of herpes. And she left me this message when she got her letter from the, hospital, I guess. She was in New Zealand. So her tests are free. Now, of course, there's an enormous website behind this homepage. I guess you're probably guessing, right? And if you see these movies, these are all people demonstrating curing various diseases. These people chose to contribute their cures to your effort to cure yourself. There are around, I guess, over 800 movies, and some of them are linked to this page. So if you click on any one of these pictures, it will go to a movie and that movie will start playing. So join the cult. Your friends will be worried about you. You're in a cult, they'll be worried. You have the crazy idea that you can cure medically incurable diseases. They're going to be very concerned. Especially if you're battling cancer. Your friends will be worried, and that's a good thing. You will cure things. And that is also a very good thing. You will begin curing things the moment you join, because that's how you join. You cure something. When you cure something, you're in the cult. If you want to get out of the cult, just stop curing things. You won't be in the cult anymore. Easy to exit. Your easy exit strategy. And who knows? You may even cure the medically incurable disease that you came in here to cure. A lot of us did. That's me there in the movie holding forth on how to cure things. I'm on the cure team. That's what I did. I cured a medically incurable disease. Two of them actually. So I cured two kinds of herpes. It was about 4 months after I started doing this that I actually discovered, I'm the person who discovered that you could cure physical diseases. July 1993, my 20th anniversary just passed. I haven't had an outbreak of herpes for 20 years, and before that I was having outbreaks for 28 years. I got herpes in 1965, at the end of the year. 28 years of outbreaks followed by 20 years of no outbreaks. That's how bad it can be and how good it can be, if you let it be good. So, take the courageous step that almost everyone you know will advise you not to take. Join the cult. When you're in the cult, your friends will get sick and you will get well. Your friends will give sympathy and you will give cure. And you'll know that you don't even need to take a vitamin pill to cure something. You can just cure it with nothing. Just with you. What can you contribute? What will your contribution be? This woman is curing a flu right on camera. She came in with full symptoms and they were all gone in 15 minutes. You can see it happen. Flu is an incurable viral-based disease. It's medically incurable. She cures it right in front of you. We eagerly await your contribution. And here they are, eagerly awaiting your contribution. And anything that you say to any of these people will probably be a contribution of some kind.